Let me welcome you to my channel. Before we begin the video, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe and like this post. Jim Cornette recently reviewed WWE Bad Blood and questioned Triple H's decision regarding a former Universal Champion. Cornette thought that Finn Balor was not a top heel to be working on a program against Damian Priest. The feud between Balor and Priest started at SummerSlam when the Demon cost the Archer of Infamy the World Heavyweight Championship. They finally got their hands on each other at Bad Blood, with Priest earning a hard-fought win. However, Cornette was not convinced by how Balor had been booked as a heel by Triple H. The former WWE manager blasted the reigning World Tag Team Champion's stature and size compared to Priest. Finn Balor has worked as a heel since 2022, when he initially joined the Judgment Day. The 43-year-old has been in singles title matches over the past year, but has failed to win any of them. Since Triple H took over as WWE's chief content officer, superstars have been given the leeway to make appearances outside of the company. Finn Balor and J.D. McDonough are scheduled to return to Ireland this coming October 26 for Over the Top Wrestling's 10th anniversary show. The reigning World Tag Team Champions are set to face ODT Tag Team Champions Matthew Smyth and Sean Guinness in the main event. It's a standard tag team match, and the titles wouldn't be on the line. Before coming into the big leagues, McDonough wrestled for ODT Wrestling and was even the promotion's first ever ODT World Heavyweight Champion. Balor, on the other hand, didn't work for ODT, but he's one of the most important figures in Irish wrestling in the 2000s. In the fast-paced world of professional wrestling, where stars rise and fall with each storyline and match, the treatment of WWE's legendary superstars has always been a subject of intense debate. Among the voices who often weigh in on the handling of top talents is none other than the outspoken Jim Cornette. The former manager, commentator, and wrestling historian is notorious for his brutally honest takes on how WWE utilizes or misuses its roster. And recently, Cornette has been very vocal about WWE's handling of one particular former Universal Champion, questioning both the company's direction and a major decision by Triple H. Cornette's sharp criticism isn't surprising, given his long history of commentary on the wrestling business. But what caught many by surprise was the level of heat directed at the treatment of this former champion. As Triple H continues to steer WWE's creative ship, many fans and insiders are starting to wonder if the company is truly maximizing its legendary talents or allowing them to fade into the background, much to the detriment of their legacy and WWE's product. The subject of Jim Cornette's ire is none other than Finn Balor, the first ever WWE Universal Champion. Balor's journey from indie wrestling sensation to WWE megastar was the stuff of dreams for many wrestling fans. After making a name for himself as Prince Devitt in New Japan Pro Wrestling, where he co-founded the wildly popular Bullet Club faction, Balor arrived in WWE with immense hype. His time in NXT was legendary, becoming a key figure in the brand's rise to prominence. His eventual call-up to the main roster led to one of the most memorable moments in recent WWE history, when he became the first ever Universal Champion at SummerSlam 2016, defeating Seth Rollins in a thrilling match. However, Balor's reign was short-lived, lasting only 24 hours. Due to a shoulder injury sustained during the match, he was forced to vacate the title, and what was supposed to be the beginning of a dominant run turned into a career-altering setback. While Balor has had several notable runs since, including returning to NXT and reinventing himself as a darker, more aggressive heel, many feel he's never regained the momentum that saw him become the inaugural Universal Champion. This leads to Cornette's recent frustration with WWE's treatment of Balor. Over the last year, Balor has been part of the villainous Judgment Day faction, alongside stars like Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest. While this has allowed Balor to showcase his heel persona, Cornette believes that WWE is grossly underutilizing the man who once stood atop the company as one of its brightest stars. On his podcast, The Jim Cornette Experience, Cornette didn't hold back when discussing WWE's current handling of Finn Balor. For Cornette, the problem lies not with Balor's talent, but with WWE's inability to capitalize on his potential, especially after such a historic achievement as being crowned the first Universal Champion. Finn Balor is one of the most talented wrestlers of his generation, and what does WWE do? They bury him in a faction, playing second fiddle to everyone else. Cornette began, "This is a guy who should be headlining pay-per-views, not stuck in some mid-card angle that's going nowhere fast." Cornette went on to explain how WWE's decision to slot Balor into a secondary role in Judgment Day is a mistake. He feels that Balor should be treated as a top-level singles competitor, especially given his skill set and history with the company. When Balor first showed up in WWE, he had all the momentum in the world, Cornette said. He was a guy that could carry the company on his back. He was the first ever Universal Champion, for God's sake. But instead of building on that legacy, WWE has turned him into a background character. It's disgraceful. Cornette's frustration is palpable, and it's a sentiment shared by many WWE fans who have long felt that Balor deserved better than what he's been given over the last few years. While his work in Judgment Day has been praised, many feel that Balor is being wasted in a faction that doesn't allow him to fully showcase the attributes that made him such a unique and beloved figure in the wrestling world. Jim Cornette's critique doesn't stop at WWE's booking of Balor. He also takes aim at Triple H, who has been in charge of WWE's creative direction since taking over from Vince McMahon. As someone who worked closely with Balor during his time in NXT, Triple H was seen as the person who could finally give Balor the push he deserved. After all, it was under Triple H's leadership that Balor became a two-time NXT champion and was allowed to fully embrace his darker persona during his second stint with the brand. However, Cornette believes that Triple H's handling of Balor on the main roster has been underwhelming, to say the least. Triple H is supposed to be this wrestling genius, right? Cornette asked rhetorically. Well, explain to me why one of his biggest stars from NXT is being treated like an afterthought. I thought the whole point of Triple H taking over was to elevate guys like Balor, who Vince McMahon never quite understood. Cornette's point is clear. Balor, who thrived under Triple H in NXT, should be one of the cornerstones of the main roster now that Triple H is in control of creative. Yet, for reasons that remain unclear, Balor has been relegated to a supporting role in Judgment Day rather than being allowed to flourish as a solo act. Triple H needs to fix this, and fast, Cornette continued. You've got a guy who can work with anyone, who has a unique look and presence, and you're wasting him in a mid-card faction. It's bad for Balor, and it's bad for we.